John and Sam in Japan, the international comedy podcast.
Theme tune time. Let's go, John. John and Sam in Japan. John and Sam in Japan. John and Sam in Japan.
I told you there's no way I'm singing.
Come on. John and Sam in Japan. John and Sam in Japan. Yeah. John and Sam in Japan.
Never gonna happen. And put your clothes back on, it's just weird.
Never.
John and Sam in Japan, the international comedy podcast.
Welcome to the show. He is John.
Okay, and he's Sam. I see we're going for a bit of a two Ronnie start there then.
Yep, love a bit of two Ronnies. And this is John and Sam in Japan, the international comedy podcast. So, John, this is our very first show. Are you excited?
Yeah, massively. Probably about as excited as my wife is when she gets a money off coupon for something we don't need.
That's pretty excited.
Yeah, or more so if it's even possible. So go on then, Sam, episode 1. Why don't you tell the listeners what we've got in store?
So this is John and Sam in Japan.
The international comedy podcast.
Yep, the international comedy podcast. It's a comedy podcast.
Because, I mean, that's in the title.
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to be funny?
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, because I'm guessing the listeners would have heard comedy from actual professional comedians.
Yep, probably.
So, I think calling ourselves John and Sam in Japan, the international comedy podcast, is a bit like that guy who decided to build a rocket in his back garden.
What do you mean?
Wow. If this does actually get off the ground, there's a good chance we're going to crash and burn.
Really? Well, fingers crossed. I mean, I see you're always the optimist.
No, I'm pretty sure this is going to be great.
Okay, well, I'm going to start again.
Yeah, because good luck, no pressure.
So, this is John and Sam in Japan, and in this episode, we're going to have live stand-up comedy from Ruben VM, an interview with Dutch-Egyptian comedian Hager, and the answer to the burning question: what rule does your partner try to impose on you? So, it's a packed show.
Yeah, good. Let's get on with it.
But first, this.
This is J&S in J News.
Okay, in this section of the show, John and I will bring you some news stories that you might have missed.
Yep, so we've both found one story each that hasn't really made the headline news, although it probably should have.
And for all the listeners out there, if you find any news stories that you think aren't getting the credit they deserve, please send them in and we'd love to see them and maybe feature them on the show.
Yep, so for sure you can contact us on Facebook, Twitter, or johnandsaminjapan.com. So go on and let's get started.
All right, so what have you got for me?
Well, the first story I found, being bald, it has particularly resonance for me. It was a Mullet festival in Kurikuri in Australia.
Mullet festival. So this is the hare, not the fish.
The hare, not the fish, yes. So Hunter Valley town, which some claim is the Australian home of the mullet hairstyle.
So the mullet's got a home.
According to the press release, they hold a festival to celebrate the cut, which arguably epitomised toughness and sexuality in the late 1980s.
All right.
Who's
sexuality, is it?
Yeah. If you had to name the most famous person with a mullet that you could think of, just off the top of your head.
I was a big fan of the of Neighbours when I was a kid. So
okay.
Jason Donovan's mullet sticks out pretty well.
I was always the John Rambo, definitely the John Rambo mullet. Okay, well, it says that this festival it's a competition, and they award the best mullet in 5 categories. The everyday mullet, the grubby mullet, sounds disgusting.
Is that just like an unwashed mullet? Is that what
I have no idea. I'm guessing that's what it is.
I'm glad to see you've done your research.
The Ranga mullet. Do you know what that is?
A Ranga.
Ranga.
So if it's in Australia, like kangaroo mullet?
I have no idea what that would look like.
I don't know either.
No, Ranga, well, I had to check on the internet. It's ginger.
A ginger mullet?
Ginger mullet. Sounds sexy.
Very much so.
Yeah. And then ladies and junior mullet, and then a publican.
Publican. I like the idea of a junior mullet.
I think it's child abuse, isn't it? Then the person with the best mullet of them all will be crowned. So the lady who's organised the event, whose husband boasts a razor-shaved skullet. I have no idea. No. I don't know if that means he's like bald on top and then he's just got
You
hair
could do
side.
one of those.
Yeah. So she said they've had 50 entries. There's the hardcore tough mullets, but also the coiffed, well cared for kind. But the global origins of shot on top go back as far as the Roman Empire.
what the mullet comes from the Roman Empire?
Yeah,
Do
according
you
to
think?
this.
Do you think they had like dodgy tashes in the Roman Empire too?
I have no idea. Why would that make it any better or worse?
No, because I really associate the mullet and the tash.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't really feel like it's complete if you don't have both.
For me, the Australian mullet would be tashless.
Tashless mullet.
Yeah, I think the American sort of South mullet would be with
Tash. Tashed and not tashed.
Well, the woman said who was organising the event, she said they need more redheads and ladies to enter. She said, I see plenty of lady mullets walking around town, but they've not signed up because I think they're a bit shyer than proud male mullets.
A lady mullet. I mean,
I know that's technically called a femullet or
Is
a
it?
fillet. Yep, I did my research.
So you've wasted quite a lot of brain space on this.
Yep.
Female mullet presumably would be tashless. And
You'd hope so, wouldn't you?
yeah, because if they had both, it'd be quite off-putting.
Yeah.
Not to say that there isn't a certain element of impressiveness that would be there.
What, you'd be impressed by a woman with a mullet and a moustache?
Well, I'd certainly think that she's pulling something off.
Oh, I don't know. I want to pull mine off.
This is J&S in J News.
All right. So, well, go on in. What have you got for me?
Right, so I've got. I thought John and Sam in Japan. I thought I should find some story that was kind of relevant to Japan a little bit. So I've gone with the headline is "Sushi fanatic rethinks raw fish after pulling tapeworm from body."
Oh, nice.
Now I want you to have a guess. How long do you think the tapeworm was? I mean,
I studied parasitology at university, so I'm going to go between 3 to 5 meters.
oh, you've done that. You've done that classic one where you've overestimated.
Oh, really?
So you've actually made our real answer not as impressive.
But,
So if you could do it again and let's say a lower number, how long do you think it would be?
it's not got a very good tapeworm. Then how big is it? Like,
It's 5 foot. So about 5 foot would be 150 centimeters. So
my university professor, he was on a TV show, like I think it was National Geographic, where he gave himself tapeworms and then put it out on the garden lawn and measured it, and it was
all right. Oh, so this guy, he needs to really
Yeah,
buck his
I
ideas
know,
up.
yeah.
It's a bit of a crap tapeworm.
yeah.
I'll give you the story a little bit. He was not feeling very well, so he went. I won't give you all the exact symptoms, but I'm sure you can imagine. He went to the doctor. He went to the emergency room, and the doctor said,
In Japan.
"No, this was in America, San Francisco."
Oh, right.
So it was,
Fake sushi.
yeah, nothing to do with the
Look, sushi.
Japanese. He went in there, and then the doctor said, "Oh, what's the problem?" He said, "I've got this thing. It was in my body, and now it's in the bag." And then he took a look at it. He said, "The doctor said, I opened it up and I took out a toilet paper roll, and wrapped around it is, of course, this giant, long, what looks like flat tapeworm."
Right.
He said he had some abdominal pain, and then after he'd opened the bag, the tapeworm was still alive. It started moving. So,
Ugh.
he was curious where it came from.
So how did he know it was definitely sushi?
Well, they're not 100% sure, but he said the doctor asked him about risk factors, like whether he'd been overseas or anything like that. But he said the only thing that stood out was that he consumed raw salmon almost every day,
Right.
and that maybe it wasn't stored properly or something like that. He said the worm had probably been growing inside the man's body for about 6 months, and the man had eaten sushi at many different sushi places, so it would be impossible to figure out which location was responsible.
Right.
So if you're in San Francisco,
Make sure your sushi's cooked.
yeah.
It's international, yeah. John and Sam in Japan.
Time for an interview. John, who have we got for this episode?
So for this episode, we've got Hager. She's a Dutch-Egyptian comedian, very, very funny. And she's recently just come back from doing 4 months of comedy in Holland. And she gave up her Sunday afternoon to come and talk to me and you in a karaoke box in Ebis, Tokyo. So, enjoy.
So, Hager, you just got back to Japan from the Netherlands.
Correct.
How was it?
It was very white.
What?
bit like this
Snowing,
room right
snowing,
now.
or-
Yeah, it was the snow.
How long were you there for?
I was there for 4 months. I went for some work, and then the work was really boring, so I did a lot of comedy.
Oh, wow.
That was really good.
And what about the comedy out there?
The comedy out there is interesting because, one, I'm obviously not a white male comedian, which, I know, surprise.
So is it just mostly men then? doing
It's
the comedy?
mostly men, yeah. So the scene is actually growing. So it used to be like 10 years ago, there was no English language comedy at all in Holland. It was all just Dutch and just a lot of interesting stereotypes about the people living there, obviously.
What sort of thing?
Like, we have predominantly, the minorities in Holland are those from the former colonies of Holland, so like the Caribbean islands, and then you have the Moroccans and the Turkish. So it's just a lot of tripe about, oh, you can't really trust them.
Oh, really? So, Holland's racist. Is that what you're saying?
His words, not mine.
That was, my name's John.
How big's the comedy scene compared to, say, like Tokyo?
It's definitely bigger, yeah. So
Alright.
when you sign up for things, you're not likely to go on, and you sign up months in advance as well for some of the shows.
Oh, wow.
And there are quite a lot of different promoters just in Amsterdam alone, and then there are different promoters all over the country. The best scene is probably like in the big cities, so Amsterdam, Rotterdam, even The Hague, where I live. It's small, it's a political seat, but they still have comedy there. And but the best crowd is obviously the tourist crowd in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Well,
that's for sure.
they'll laugh at anything.
And I love them for it.
So
But no.
are they paid shows that you can get on, or?
Yes, there. Some of the shows are definitely paid, but you have to sort of work your way up for that. Especially because I went there in September and I had never done any comedy in Holland before, even though I used to live there before. And then you get your first chance at one show, and then another promoter sees you, and then it's like word of mouth.
Right.
And before you know it, you can just go on all the shows. I mean, if you're okay, if you make people laugh.
Yeah.
I didn't, obviously. I just slept around with everyone. But I did notice something. So the big cities, comedy is fine, and you have a really good audience, and you can really have fun with them. But then if you're doing it for a predominantly Dutch crowd in, let's say, a village, then you have to be really careful. Like I could never go on stage and perform with this like normal speaking voice, normal accent, because they wouldn't accept it. They're like, wait, she's coming on stage, she's not performing in Dutch, she's trying to make us laugh with humor, making fun of the Dutch, and she's not even white, goddammit. What is this? So they were totally unaccepting of that, and just, they wouldn't laugh. Like, there would be like one person in the crowd sort of laughing, oh, that's really funny.
So what kind of material would you have to do to those sort of audiences then?
The exact same material, but then, John, I would speak like this the whole time.
No way.
I kid you not, I swear. It is like this, okay? Yes.
I don't know if I would dare to ask, what accent is that?
This is my fabricated Arab Egyptian in Dutch accent.
Wow.
I kid you not.
So if you did this voice...
If I do this voice, everything is accepted, and they will laugh.
Right.
John,
It's
I
very
need to do
scary.
the voice.
Do the voice.
Yeah.
Okay. It is no problem.
No, it is a problem. Yeah.
We've already talked about this, haven't we, doing accents?
Yeah.
I've been told I'm not allowed.
He's not allowed to do
Oh.
accents.
That's probably a good thing, actually.
Yeah. It's the Australian one I oppose the most.
Yeah.
Wow. Was it? There's a South African one that was
That's
banned.
right.
Oh.
I'll edit that bit out. So how about like the day-to-day life, like Holland compared to Japan? What's the...
So here's the thing. Like, when in Japan as an Egyptian, there are some expectations, right? Like, they just expect me to be able to, walk like an Egyptian all the time here.
Walk like an Egyptian.
I clearly don't do that. Haven't walked sideways in a really long time. They beat it out of me in Holland, damn it. No, but you get used to certain things when you live in Japan, right? You get used to people like just on an escalator, just
standing to the
walking,
side.
just standing to the side, doing that sort of thing. Or my favorite part is people actually going into any train in an orderly fashion. and managing to fit like 100 people into a carriage. In Holland, that's not the case. So I just remember their idea of a busy carriage is 10 people in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they all cram around the door. So I was like, okay, this is my chance. I'm going to make the people of Japan super proud of me. So I got out and started pushing people in. Like, sumimasen, push them in.
Did you have the white gloves on?
Obviously.
Obviously,
I
yes.
didn't want to touch these people with my bare hands.
You live in Holland and your background's Egypt. Can you explain? I don't know. Can you explain yourself?
What are you?
Yeah, what are you
What are
exactly?
No, I was born in Egypt, and we moved to Holland when I was young.
Right.
My dad just kind of went, let's all just get into a car and leave.
So do you still have like a lot of ties to Egypt, or?
My family still lives there. They, every time my mum goes to Egypt, some revolutionary activity seems to occur.
I think it's usually like a trigger.
I don't know if it's a coincidence or correlation. I haven't figured it out yet. But she has the accent, so I mean,
All right.
she gets people going, that's for sure.
So when you're doing that accent, you're actually channeling your mother.
I am.
Yeah.
I did the accent for her. She's like, who is this?
So what? Go on, give us a sample of your mum. What would she have shouted at you when you were a Egyptian?
Give us a sample of your mum. Just give
Blood
us cookies.
sample, or-
This is cookies. I don't think we need that, son.
Yeah. So let me rephrase that. Can you do an impression of your mother?
Yes.
But what would she have like shouted at you? Go on, give us the full-on accent of your mum when you
Why
were a
aren't you
kid.
married? Is that
Why are you with him?
they're
She
my
loves them.
grandkids?
Does she?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good though.
He eats her food, that's why.
I see.
It helps.
Yeah, that's.
Anyone who eats her food, and if she calls you if she has a nickname for you, then she likes you.
Oh right.
If she calls you by your actual name, she's like,
She called you John, didn't she?
very much.
She won't talk to you.
The full name, actually, John McBride.
Yeah, that's what my mum says when she's angry.
John.
McBride.
Because you're not Jonathan, are you?
No,
You're just
no, God, no.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
John.
That's
My
terrible.
granddad was John, my dad was John, I was John.
Oh really?
I told her when me and my wife were having kids, if it was a boy, because we made an agreement, if it was a girl, she could name the girl, and if it was a boy, I could name it. And so obviously in Japan, I wanted to call it Johnny, because John 2.
Yeah,
of course
good.
she hated that.
Oh right, did she?
Yeah. We had a girl.
Well, you had a girl on purpose, didn't you? And then you just had your second baby recently.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on
Congratulations.
the second girl.
Yeah.
So she's
So karma.
staunchly refusing to have a boy.
Yeah.
That's good.
It was Johnny or...
My mum did that too.
To
Just refused to have a boy.
Huh?
I was supposed to be a boy. I was going to be called Mustafa.
Really?
Mustafa, face of an angel.
Is that?
Hey.
Oh, you got me.
My youngest sister, 'cause I've got 2 brothers, 2 sisters. My youngest sister, when she was born, the nurse took her out of the room to clean her up, and my mum and dad thought it was a boy, and they were a little bit gutted because that had been 4 boys. And so they came back, and the nurse said, "Have you thought of a name?" And they went, "Thomas." And the woman went, "She's got a vagina." Alicia then. It was the umbilical cord they thought was a penis.
Impressive. Oh, takes after his dad.
Penis on his belly button. What's the sense of humour like in Egypt? What kind of things do they find funny? Is it just like the universal stuff, or is it like a unique kind of?
It's pretty much everything. You can get away with a lot in Egypt, so it's not we're not a big fan of the slapstick comedy.
Yeah.
Like a bit more deeper comedy is fun. Like, I remember when I was younger, we used to go to these comedy theater, and that was so much fun. I remember that was very good influence on sort of the comedy style. It's just I don't even know how to explain it because we like making really terrible jokes. Like when the revolution was happening, they had this joke about Mubarak, and they go, so President Obama called President Mubarak, and he said, Hosni, you best prepare your goodbye speech. And Mubarak answers him and goes, why? Where are the Egyptian people going?
Yeah.
It's that kind of
Yeah.
humor. So it's fun. I like it. Cultural faux pas. I mean, I think it's more language stuff that you do. So you asked for my mum, what my mum sounds like. Well, my favorite part is whenever she goes to the market in Holland, and the word for lace is cunt.
Oh.
It gets better. The word for ass or butt is kont. So, she's asking usually for a meter of ass at the market.
So what was if you want to say that full sentence, how would you say it?
I want a meter of lace.
Yeah. in
Dutch.
Yeah.
Ik wil een meter kant.
Okay, so you go first.
Oh, well, one more time. I'm rubbish at languages, go on.
Ik wil 1 meter kant.
Oh, there's a need.
You said the last bit, right? Not my turn.
Ik wil 1 meter kant.
Ik wil 1 meter kant.
Nice.
Okay.
Well done.
Get yourself to
Yeah.
Holland.
So, thanks to Hager for coming down to chat with us. All of her information can be found at our website, johnandsaminjapan.com. So now, just time for a word from our sponsors.
Howdy y'all, Bob here from Bob's English, the most well-known English language school in the Tokyo area. We are currently accepting applications for new students. Why should you study here? Well heck, I'll tell you why. Some of our teachers are native English speakers. Hell, some of them even went to university, or at least some fancy pants high school. At Bob's English, you can learn all the important grammar stuff. We'll teach you loads of words, even what them words mean. Get to our website and remember, at Bob's English, you can learn to speak English proper.
Yo, Johnny McBee and Sammy O.T. Two Brits talking shit over a cup of tea. Probably a spot of milk and a crumpet, please. But there's something else cooking in the kitchen. Could someone answer the burning question?
So, John, what's happening with this part of the show?
Okay, so in this part of the show, we take a burning question and we try to answer it.
That's right, and we'd love the listeners to join in. So if you have any ideas for a burning question, or if you have an answer to the burning question that you want to share, please get in touch.
Yep, and also the burning question never closes. So if you're listening to this in 2025 or whenever, and you want to answer to this episode's question, please still, drop us a line.
That's right. Contact info can be found at johnandsaminjapan.com and Facebook and Twitter.
All right, so go on then. What's today's burning question then, Sam?
Today's burning question is, what rule does your partner try to impose on you?
Okay, so, well, first off, we had an answer from somebody called Campbell Tyson via Facebook, and he said his wife makes him wipe the shower room with a towel every single day.
Oh, really? But that would mean you'd get piss on your towel. We also there was another one on Facebook from Chris from Australia. He said, my wife tries to ask me not to dribble on the toilet seat or the floor, but it's quite difficult due to the massive size of my banana.
Right. Surely if your banana's massive, then you should be hitting the toilet without getting it all over the sides. I think, if you're getting it all over the sides, then it would suggest that it's not quite as big as he thinks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
unless it's so big that he's just going over the back of the toilet.
Well, Chris, write in and let us know.
Don't bother. I'm not that interested. I suppose I know the final one. I guess somebody on Facebook, well, Christiane Brew, she said that her partner says that maybe she should try to cut down on smoking, and according to this, she says every time he suggests that, she says, "Yeah, I probably should," whilst lighting up a cigarette.
Famous for being addictive, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So, how about you, John? What is your answer to the burning question?
Something that my wife tries to impose. Oh, well, being married to a Japanese woman, she's obsessed with making me wear a face mask if I have a cough or a sneeze or anything.
All right, this isn't a Halloween face
mask.
No,
this is one of those white face masks that you see on Japanese people.
Surgical face masks.
Surgical face masks, yeah, and I refuse. Although recently I had the flu, and so I did wear one because I had the flu. We've got a small baby, but as soon as I started wearing it, I knew that she now thinks that means next time if I'm sick, I'm just definitely going to wear it. So I kept saying to her, this is only because I've got the flu. So it has to be the flu or a worse disease or condition for me to wear a face mask.
How often does your wife wear a face mask?
Oh, every opportunity. She even sometimes even in bed, which I think is the most insane thing. She said it's, if she's got a sore throat, it's to stop me getting sick, which I don't believe, because I think she'd be quite happy if I was to drop dead sometimes.
Do you have life insurance?
No, that's probably
that's the reason you're alive.
That's why she's wearing a face mask. She doesn't want me to die just yet. How about for yourself?
My wife, she very strictly imposes the rule that I must sit down to pee. Sometimes
in the house that you built.
Yeah, well, not with my own hands, but certainly was involved in paying for it. And she's quite strict about it. Sometimes if I go for a wee standing up, and then she'll shout from the kitchen, I can hear that. So, in fact, I have a small son too, and
I'm glad you said son at the end of that sentence.
Well, not the only thing. I have a small son, and he's obviously doesn't have the best aim, but I get blamed a lot for his inaccuracies. But I think there is a bit the opposite way where he probably gets blamed for some of mine too.
So is he allowed to stand up and pee, and it's just only you that has to sit down?
Yeah,
peeing favoritism in his house.
It is. Yes, exactly. Yeah, he. I'm sure that he'll get that imposed upon him in the future too. But something that she did recently, I came home and found she'd stuck around the rim of the toilet what I could only describe as piss sponges. So these are little sponges that are kind of glued or something to just the inside of the rim and the top of the rim that's kind of soaks up any
excess
errant pee. Yeah, but the problem is what happens is that they soak up the pee, and then
when you sit on them, it just squeezes pee all over your bum.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh no, not on the top of the seat, between the seat and the toilet.
Oh right, oh okay.
Yeah.
So when you sit down, you squeeze the pee out.
You squeeze the pee
floor.
out, and then it drips all down the floor. And they're holding, like, you might have them on there for 3 or 4 days. They're holding like 3 or 4 day old pee. You're essentially storing sponges of pee on your toilet.
Lovely.
Yeah. And that's this week's burning question.
Okay. Right, so in this part of the show, we like to feature some stand-up comedy. So who have we got today, Sam?
Today's performer is Ruben VM. He has a Dutch background, but I think he was born and raised in New Zealand.
Loving the Dutch today.
Yeah, loving the Dutch. And now he's living in Japan, and he's the only English language musical comedian that we know in Japan. He's an amazing performer. Seen him live loads of times, so I think you guys are going to really enjoy this one. Ruben VM.
This is a song about Pyeongchang 2018.
Wow.
The games are so inspirational for all of the little boys and girls, teaching them to follow their dreams. One day they can afford to go skiing. The events are so exciting and the athletes are so brave and daring. Luge, half pipe, bob, sled, ski jumping, skeleton and ice dancing. Pyeongchang 2018, all the excitement of Olympic curling. Pyeongchang 2018, the Russians are banned because they're all doping. Even their Olympic curling team. Did you enjoy the biathlon? That's where they walk in the snow and then they shoot a gun. walking and shooting, walking and shooting, more walking and more shooting, and more walking and more shooting. Exciting. The Winter Games has it all, like white people sliding down a hill, white people sliding on a flat surface, and that's it. The Olympic athletes, they will never quit. They embody the true Olympic spirit. True ambassadors for world peace with their Olympic village sex parties. Pyeongchang 2018, gays are welcome, unlike Sochi. Pyeongchang 2018, for the Olympics for people who look just like me. Pyeongchang 2018, more naked tongues, please. Pyeongchang 2018, I think we avoided World War III. Pyeongchang 2018, can we just hurry up and get to 2020? Because no one cares about the Winter Olympics.
Ruben VM there, great stuff. So that's it for this episode. John, did you enjoy it?
Yep, mega enjoyed it a lot. Can't wait to do it all over again.
Me too. That just gives us time to say thanks to our guest Hager, and thanks to our featured performer Ruben VM, who also does a lot of the jingles and the theme tune for this show. So if you want to find out more about them and their work, you can find all of that at johnandsaminjapan.com.
Yep, and also, like, if you want to be involved in the show, we like anything to do with the burning questions, the news stories, or if you want your stand-up featured on this or your musical comedy, again, just johnandsaminjapan.com.
Yeah, and obviously this is a free show, so it would really help us a lot if you would subscribe to our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, write a review, tell your friends, tell your family.
Tell anyone.
Anyone.
Colleagues, enemies, just people in the street. Tell anyone, please.
That's it. Thanks again to all those involved, but most of all, thanks to you, the lovely listener.
Yeah,
catch you later.
John and Sam in Japan, the international comedy